So it's Tamara Hunter, and today is day number 330 of 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. And I have Mistie Layne with me today. Let me tell you about Mistie Layne. Mistie Layne is someone that I truly respect. She has a movement that is making a difference. It's Be That One transparency movement, because many of us have had lives that we want to go out there and make a difference because of something that we've lived. Mistie has one. She has a story. She has actually had some events in her life that have changed the course of where she's going. I met her, and when we started realizing how many things we have in common, it was from there on out. We were just like, okay, let's do this. Let's make some differences together. And that's exactly what we are doing. And anybody that's been waiting for us to go live, I will say this: Mistie is a sport, because we were having some technical issues, and she just was like, okay, let's make this happen. So thank you so very much for being with me right now, Mistie.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Tamara.
And we even have some people that have found us because we had to start a whole new link. And thank you so very much, Carol Brown, for being with us this evening, one of our Chemo Buddy for Life ambassadors and one of the co-producers for the event we're going to be talking about. And, oh my golly, Jeremiah Knight. Love you. Haven't seen you for a little bit. So glad to have you with us this evening. So we are going to be talking about what it is that we're doing with Chemo Buddies for Life. But before we get there, because I've had you on the show before, at least once. However, it's been a while, and let's catch up with you. Let's start with where your movement started and what you're doing now.
Well, the movement actually started during the next Impactor competition because I discovered for myself just how necessary transparency was in my life, and how I discovered freedom once I learned how to be transparent. The freedom that it gave me, I thought everyone needs to experience this. Everyone needs to be able to be who they really are, the good and the bad and the ugly, and feel comfortable as being that person. And instead of looking at it as a negative, if you've been through some adversity, instead of looking at your life as negative, to use those life experiences, Tamara, just to go out there and help other people with educating them. And through education, I believe we can judge less and mentor more.
I love that. I love it. Now, you have a life, you have a story, and let's recap that too, because I think it's very important for people to understand that you have been there, you have done that, and you know where you're coming from. And so when you're talking about be real, be transparent, and if you will, live in your skin and be able to not, if you will, judge yourself, because sometimes it's not even others judging us, it's judging ourselves that can get in the way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Fearing for me, it was fearing the judgment from others. I was so hung up on people pleasing, and after most of the people that are on here probably already know my story. I went through a lot of adversity with drugs, and went from going from medical school to prison behind killing someone in a car accident. And I had rebuilt my life after coming out of prison, back in the medical community, and worked very hard to do so. And in that new life, I didn't want people to know the Mistie from before, because I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I didn't want my son's Boy Scout troop leader to know, because I was a volunteer. I didn't want his, Catholic school teachers to know. I didn't want my daughter's associations to know, because they were in school. And it was just me realizing that I didn't love myself. I didn't accept myself for all the things I had done. And once I learned and moved through the steps and learned how to get through that and love the person I was with all the flaws, then I realized that being transparent about it is necessary, because I have a lot of knowledge. I've lived through quite a few things now that that knowledge can really help other people. And that's what I'm out doing, educating.
And I absolutely am so proud of you for doing that. And so I'll never forget, because I got to be there the day that your book arrived, right? And you, I arrived into the room shortly after you had gotten it, and you had done your live video that just went kind of like viral and no time at all, and you were able to talk about what it was for you to be so authentic and so real and so raw, and what it was going to be like for others to read that, including, I remember a really big one was your mom. And now we've gone through so much together, if you will. Let's kind of talk through that too. And I gotta recognize we've got some more people that are jumping on. I love it. Karen Marie, thank you for showing up and being with us. And oh my, Coach Jason.
Hey, Jason.
So
no crosses. Look, no crosses. I haven't unpacked them yet.
I love the dream catcher. Can I just say yes?
My daughter made it. It was from her wedding. Both the mother of the bride and the mother of the groom, we each got one from their wedding.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit of fun from the other day, because Coach Jason is involved with what we're going to be talking about here soon with the Chemo Buddies for Life Give-a-thon. But let's keep going on your story a little bit longer, because I really, truly want people to understand what's important to me also. And what's important to me is that those that come to help us in the nonprofit that's mission we believe in, life happens. And when life happens, oftentimes that stress of the life happening can create things like cancer. And so for us to have people in leadership that have an experience with life and say, you know what, I got through it. You can too. And we have ways of helping you. I really am so very proud to have you a part of our team. So why don't you just go a little bit further in? Okay, so you got the book, and your book tells the journey of your addiction, and truthfully, here's a prom queen, or not prom queen, beauty queen, more than a prom queen, the beauty queen from Texas that then ends up going to jail, like you were sharing. And then you write the book. And there you are, you're sitting there in that room, because you were in California when the book arrived, and you went live about it. And now it's not quite a year. Why don't you take us through that to today?
Sure. I actually wrote the book while I was in prison. I wrote it by hand on paper, and I had not given a whole lot of thought about like exactly how to go about releasing it, but I knew I wanted to. But once I got out and started rebuilding my life, all that fear of judgment set in, and it took me 12 years, 12 long years before I learned, and it was through Jason Cisneros, who is my mentor, that I met him through Dr. Duck Long. Started following him. I just loved everything he was about. I looked really hard to find all the flaws and everything he was talking about. And, he's had me for a year and a half now, and I'm still going strong with him. So he is the one that showed me, not just told me, but he showed me what transparency looks like. And once I learned that and saw how it felt, I knew I had to move forward. I knew that there were people out there that that we needed to ease suffering with our stories. We needed our experiences to help them know they're not alone. Because the way I look at this is, you imagine a world where you have a teenager that gets pregnant. Imagine a world where she can go home and talk to her parents about it and not run to the first abortion clinic because she's too afraid of the judgment that she's going to get from even her own parents. I mean, being transparent will open up a brand new world for all of us. And so I was just on a mission, on God's mission, just to get out there and do it. And so it's been a long journey. It's been an emotional journey. I'm very proud of where I am with the book sales. I'm very proud of the community that we're growing together with it, and the awareness. And I do see people every day out there being that one, because I encourage, that's my whole thing, is to be that one. I encourage you to step up and be that one and share your raw truth and honesty. And I do see it happening more and more. And I just invite everyone to come and join in the movement. It's necessary. I think it'll make the world a better place, all around better place. And even coming down with Chemo Buddies, like you said, you and I met. We attended that event during the Oscars weekend in California. We got to know each other. We discovered more links that we had in common that we knew. And I told you then, way back in February, I said, Tamara, regardless of this competition, I'm behind Chemo Buddies because I believe in it. I know it's necessary. And because I work with those patients and I hear it from them all the time, I see the fear in their eyes. I see the stress they go through. And a lot of them get divorced when they find out they have cancer. A lot of them have turned to drugs over finding out they've had cancer. And they come in and there's always this bond. It's not like I set my patient down, I'm getting ready to inject him. I say, by the way, I wrote a book and da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't do that. That wouldn't be professional, of course. But there always seems to be a link. There always seems to be something that God has put there to connect me with the person that needs it. And it's a segue into, oh, you're a speaker? Oh, well, guess what? I'm a speaker too. Oh, you did this? Guess what? I used to do that. And it always leads me into that conversation where I get to talk about the book. And I always then end up leading them to Chemo Buddies. And several of them have become, from what I hear, very active members on your site. And I'm so proud and so happy for that. And that's my whole thing now is when you ask me to join, absolutely, because I'm behind it. I believe in it. And I'm the one that's really going to be out there pushing to grow the community because I'm the one working with the patients and I see it. Those are the people we need in the groups or the patients. And I'm the one. I'm going to be pushing for you 100%.
For us. And that's what I'm so excited about. And that's, we have some more. I love this too. Caroline Brown, hi, after she gives him the fun from the other night, because Jason is helping us with the event and he has been coaching our leadership team. I just think you are amazing, Jason Cisneros, the bald inventor. And we have Nancy Kiesling,
Hi, Nancy.
One of the top 5 from the Next Impactor, the first global Next Impactor competition. So glad that you're here. This is what I love about the community of individuals that we have been a part of for this last year. Let's just call it a year because some people started it back in December of last year. I know I didn't. I got involved more at the beginning of the year. However, this is an organization that with the impactors and with you and I meeting and people that have purpose, people that have hearts, people that want to go out there and make a difference. And I'm so thrilled that so many of them have now come to join the movement for Chemo Buddies for Life. Oh, how fun. You're messengering them. That's what's so cool about digital assets too, being able to do all of this, because this is where we're at these days, guys. This is a nonprofit. We have a 501c3 that we are representing. And the big news here, I've made reference to it in print, but we are announcing that Mistie Layne has agreed to become our vice president of the board for Chemo Buddies for Life. More than an advisor, she is actually becoming an officer of the nonprofit that, yes, that was my platform when I went into the competition. And I will say this too, is that yes, the whole time, she would always say, okay, I'm coming after you, or, we're in this. However, you know how I feel. I believe in Chemo Buddies for Life. And so I'll never forget it. Teresa and I were driving through the desert in the middle of the night, and you were driving somewhere else, and we were all, kind of like that connection of the phone and everything, and we kept dropping each other and everything. But that night, we made that determination that once this was done, that we were going to go forward and we were going to make this happen and go global. No matter where we came in with our quote unquote numbers in the competition, that we believe in this. And so when I asked you, and I will say, at first I would just wanted her on the board, guys, and there was one slot, and it wasn't necessarily the right slot, but she just said, yes, I'm all in. And you really, I was like, wow, that is generosity, because I knew it wasn't really your play, what choose, but it was the only slot I had. When things got reworked and we ended up with the vice president's position, that is absolutely perfect, because you can go out there representing Chemo Buddies for life when you're out there doing the other things too, and talking about what you see every day out there. And you travel multiple states for what you do, don't you?
Yeah, I'm licensed in 5 states right now. Yeah.
And why don't you talk a little bit more about what it is, and so they understand that, and thank you, you just recently taped or filmed an educational piece that we're going to be sharing on the Give-a-thon, and then we're going to be sharing it out there to help people to not be so afraid, because taking the fear out and being transparent, keeping with your mission and message. And that's what I love about all of this. We are able to help to bring each other's messages out there and grow these communities together, because transparency takes away fear. So why don't you talk about what it is that you do when someone comes and visits with you?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's definitely a cross-pollination, I think, across all platforms. One thing we all learn together in the competition, one of the biggest takeaways, I believe, is that we all learn that together we can make a bigger impact than we ever can by ourselves. So no matter who was for what platform, when we all got behind each other and pushed each other, it was a bigger megaphone, if you will. And that's why I'm so into being on board with you, because I've believed in it from day one. The role that I think is a good asset for me is because I am in that pivotal position in the healthcare industry. I perform PET CT scans, which is, if you have cancer, you know all about what they are. Most people get them about every 6 months. Some people a little bit sooner. Some people can go a year. It just depends on what stage of cancer. But a PET CT scan is the scan that will determine, just a quick little breakdown, or just a real quick summary of what it is if you go and have an x-ray or a CAT scan and they see a tumor, they cannot diagnose if that tumor is cancer or not. They can send it off to pathology. That takes a lot longer, and sometimes they can get a definitive answer. But a PET CT scan takes the CT portion, which is just your where does it live, what does it look like, how big it is, and they put it with a PET scan, which is your function scan, which says, is it growing? Is it alive? Is it functioning? Because if you have a tumor that is metabolizing, it's tumorous. It's pulling in sugar as food. It's using that sugar to build and grow. And then that will, if it shows up hot on a PET CT scan, now you know that tumor you saw on your CAT scan or your x-ray is cancer. If you have a tumor that shows up, like maybe a granuloma in your lung, but you have a PET CT scan and you don't see it, it means it's not pulling in sugar for food, which means it's not growing and it's benign. It is not cancer. So that's why it is so important, and that's why I filmed these educational videos that will be on the Chemo Buddy website for education, because if you are going for one of these scans, cheating and having your morning coffee with sugar, you're just ruining it. It's like having a car parked in a garage. If you're trying to come home and park your other car in the garage, your car is already there. If you put sugar in your body before your scan, and then I inject the radioactive sugar, the sugar can't get in. It's going to not appear on the screen, and it's going to look as if it's not cancer, when indeed it could be, but it just didn't have a place to get in to take the sugar in. So those are little tips. Those are kind of things that it's on the videos that I shot, the educational videos that are going to be on the website. Because I think that anyone that has cancer, they're scared. They have no idea. They're coming out to, most times it's a mobile unit. It's a big square 18-wheeler. It's scary. The machine's big round machine. A lot of people confuse it with an MRI. It doesn't make the same kind of noise, but it is intimidating. So I believe these educational series is going to be very beneficial for the community, just to gain, awareness, understanding, and then maybe down the line we could even set up like an answer, frequently asked questions, a blog or something like that to help ease it even further.
And thank you for bringing that up, because for those that are following us, I've been talking about the fact that I'm so excited about the different volunteers and different categories of volunteers that we have. In fact, the film that Misty just is talking about is now in the hands of our film team. We've got some film professionals that are amazing, and they're going to help to make those segments available for us and for you. We also have a technical team, a website team, and we have the new website that is still getting tweaked a little bit. That is live, though, the cb4l.org, that you see the URL right there. And then what's bigger and coming, and what we're really pushing hard to have for the Giving Tuesday event, is the beta site. And in the beta site, we're going to have what's called forums or groups that we will be able to have Misty and other specialists and other people that come from different areas with different education and backgrounds to be able to explain what it is that's going on, and have events that people can come and ask questions. We are going to be very involved in our community, and people are wondering, what is it about? Well, if you have a place where you can really come and ask questions that of subject matter experts, that's invaluable. Because I don't know about you, Misty, but being a patient and being a support person of more than five through one line, and many others through my family that have been experienced cancer, I have never had a place like that where I could just go and feel like I would be able to get answers, or at least directions towards answers. It's not as easy as someone would think. And I appreciate the fact that you are coming to us with that and so open with it. Let me ask you this. When you have people that are coming for the first time, or they're possibly reoccurring, do you hear that the time in testing is some of the most difficult time?
Well, absolutely, because they're fearful of the outcome. It's not so much they're fearful of the test itself, they're fearful of the results. They don't know what's in their future. They don't know how long their future is. They don't know what they're up against. It's all uncertainty. And so they're petrified. They're petrified oftentimes, and I hear more often, it makes me sad to even say, I hear it so much. A lot of them come alone with no support family with them. And I'm like, are you here? Because we have to ask if they've medicated with a Xanax or Valium. We can't let them drive. And I'll say, are you here with someone? Is there a family member? No, my husband, he left me, or whatever it is, whatever the case. And a lot of times also, Tamara, families won't tell anybody. They don't want anybody to know. For whatever reason, I don't know if they feel like if they don't tell anybody, it isn't real. But a lot of times I get patients that come in, they're like, nobody knows. I haven't told my kids. I haven't told my spouse. I don't want anybody to know. And I'm like, I ask them, well, you don't want to be alone, do you? And they're like, well, I don't want them to worry about me, or until I know what it is, I'm not telling them till I can give them an answer. So there's a period of time they're completely alone. Sometimes it's by choice. Sometimes it's not. But regardless, these patients are alone. And Chemo Buddies for Life is going to give them, it's going to bridge that gap and give a community where if they want to be anonymous, they can. If they want to tell all, they can. If they just want to be a quiet person to listen what everybody else has to say, they can be that too. I just believe it is such a necessary platform. It is going to be such a huge benefit. I just can't wait to get it out to the rest of the world, because cancer isn't specific to this country. It is worldwide. It's pandemic. So, yeah.
Exactly. And we have more people that are showing up. I just want to recognize everybody before we go into this next area. Billy, thank you for being here, and thank you for that compliment. That's very kind. Carmen, you know what? Thank you for being with us, Carmen. One of our volunteers, one of our supporters. I am so grateful that you're with us. And then we have Mr. Awesome. And Service Hero, thank you for being with us today, Eric. I appreciate you very much. Let's go into this, because you hit the nail on the head. And I talk a lot about this from the patient seat. I talk a lot about this from the support buddy seat. However, you now are talking about this from the professional side and the third-party validation, which I think is incredibly important. And that's why I'm just so grateful that you are a part of our team, Mistie. I can't even say it enough, because I mean, from the core of my being, I just know the validation that you bring with you is huge, because I'll never forget this. I will never forget when I was going through testing, which I had to test twice, my whole round of tests. And it's not uncommon for this to have happened, because my one doctor ordered the tests. However, then when I was possibly being the group I chose them because they were specialists in the area of my type of cancer. They were not going to accept those tests. They wanted them all retested in their way of doing things, right? And so I went in a longer amount of time than normal. Now I'm realizing that many do, so it's not as uncommon as I thought it was then. My friends, you know, or the people that were talking to me, they were like, you should be doing this, you know. If they were talking to me, it was like, you know, you're waiting too long, this and this and that and this. And I'm like, you know what? I've been told to be that they know what they're doing, and these specialists understand the timing and to not be worried about it. However, when I called, I'm a Girl Scout, and I got all the books, and so I started calling all the different nonprofits. I started calling the, you know, different groups, and what I heard was surprising, Mistie, and that was they would ask me, "Have you been diagnosed?" And I'd say, "Well, I had been diagnosed with a duck, basically. The joke is that my ultrasound person had said, well, if it acts like a duck and it squawks like a duck, most likely it's a duck." So that's what I would just say. You know, I've seen there is something going on. I don't have the diagnosis yet. They would tell me they can't talk to me yet because I was not diagnosed.
Yeah.
Then when you do get diagnosed and you're sitting in front of, you get that call or you're talking in front of the doctor, they immediately want to go into action then. There's no due diligence time. So when we decided to do when our doctors and our nurses were very, very, very instrumental in getting this nonprofit up and going and saying, we really need a resource out there like we believe you can provide. And at that time, it was decided from the very beginning that we would support those people that were going through testing, because that can be one of the scariest times, because like you said, that uncertainty, that's why I asked the question, that uncertainty, because when you know, at least you can come up with a plan. But when you don't know, it kind of puts you in a limbo state.
Right. And there's also a place for those patients, because there are patients that come in that don't don't get the diagnosis of cancer. There are those cases that come in, they're granulomas, they're benign tumors, but they've still lived through something, and now they have experience in it that they can still be a part of the community to share with others just what that fear was like for them. And not just that, they're also that beacon of hope to show others just because you're getting tested doesn't mean it has to be that outcome. They could be that proof that I was tested, it didn't come out to be cancer. There's that little bit of hope there for them. So that's what's so unique about Chemo Buddies, is that it doesn't alienate. It bridges that gap there, like I said earlier, and it includes everyone. And and not just that, even the family, the support people. I mean, if your spouse or your daughter has cancer, it would be good to talk to another person that has their daughter's had cancer and gone through it, to get tips to figure out how to go about, I went through it recently with a friend of mine, her son, I believe he was 19 at the time he was diagnosed with lymphoma. And at 19, you're invincible. At 19, you're strong, you're buff, you're on top of the world. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear it. He went in the hospital. After, I think it was 3 treatments, he left. But because he was 19, she couldn't make him stay. So he left the hospital. He refused to finish the chemo because he felt, I'm big and strong. I'm fine. I don't feel sick. I'm not going through this. Well, guess what happened? He didn't finish the chemo. The cancer, it was just a big thing. Then he did finish it, went away. Then it came back. And so there needs to be a community where people can relate on an age level as well. Right. A 60-year-old trying to tell a 19-year-old what they've been through, it's different, because to a 60-year-old that might be retired and lives a different life than a very active 19-year-old, they don't understand. That's not the same language anymore. So Chemo Buddies will provide that platform to where if that 19-year-old had chosen to come into Chemo Buddies, would find other kids, I call them kids, other young adults the same age that they can relate and speak the same language, and maybe could have encouraged him the first time around to stay in the treatment instead of leaving. And it could have been life-saving. It could have been the difference that could have saved his life. I mean, he's still alive and well now, but I mean, it didn't have to turn out that way. Thank God it did. But that's where the need for Chemo Buddies is.
Right. And let's just right here, let's make it clear that our stand, because we have a real strong stand that whatever you choose for your form of treatment, be it traditional, alternative, or adjunctive, our stand is don't do it alone. Also, I will say, being a part of a community that are like-minded individuals, and we are going to be able to help with education, that's deeply important. Because I will tell you this, I do know, and I've talked with a few mothers, because I am a mother of, my daughter was 19 when she was diagnosed. I know what that age situation is, and there are others that have been in that situation. In our case, we didn't have a problem, but I have talked to others that have, and what happened with the one story that you're just telling us, the outcome was not necessarily the good outcome that this story had, because we do need, and one of the very first volunteers that came on board with us over 2 years ago, Brett, was actually 14 when he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's told his story. He's been out there. Now he's in his early 20s, and he talks about how this age group is very problematic, and how having volunteers that are younger are so important, because then they can talk about these things, really be there and support each other, and let that young adult, because young adults, they want to be adults. And here, if you've got cancer, that is a huge wild card that you're holding. And the decision-making power of that 19-year-old, it is important to have a community where you can get into age-appropriate groups and possibly even have a buddy that would be age appropriate.
Well, yeah, and I want to interject right here too. There's also community stressors that come into play. For instance, someone in their 50s or 60s that has been diagnosed with cancer, their stressors are going to be, how am I going to support my family? How am I going to pay my bills? A younger person has stressors are, will I ever be able to have children?
Right.
Will I be able to finish school? Whatever. Will I be disfigured? Because when you're young, it's all about the way you look. When you're older, those things they're not on the priority as much. So there's like different community stressors, peer pressure with drugs. Someone
Yeah.
that's been diagnosed that may become depressed may give in to peer pressure when before they never did. But because
Right.
they feel hopeless and their future is so unpredictable, their life is going to change. So there's community stressors, there's age-related gender stressors, there's all kinds of things that come into play, which again is another reason Chemo Buddies is so necessary, because it does not alienate any of that. It congeals all of it together, and
Right.
it makes one big happy community where whatever you're looking for, whether it be you're looking for a role model to be a support to someone to see how that looks like, whether it be you're the patient and you need to know how to tell your family. Maybe you've got cancer and you don't know how to break it to your family. You can find support in the Chemo Buddies for someone that's been there and done that and help you through it. Or whether it be someone that's just been told they're terminal and they've got 3 months to live. What does that look like? How does that feel? How do I get my affairs in order? There are going to be people that have been there and done that have left a legacy, that have left a digital imprint on Chemo Buddies. They may not be here today to talk to, but their stories will be there to help those that are facing the same situation know, how do I get through it? How do I get my affairs in order? What do I do? Who do I see? I've got 3 months to live. So, I mean, it's a win all the way around. There's not
Right.
one person that I don't see that could benefit from being part of this community.
I completely agree. And that's why I'm so honored that you have accepted the role to be our vice president, because, guys, are you not? I mean, my knees are going off, and anybody who knows me knows that that's what, when good stuff is happening. This is a program that we are having our second birthday as a nonprofit. We received our 501c3 status out of the state of California 2 years ago, November. Yay. And then we received the IRS validation a couple months later in January, but it retroacts back to when you received that state recognition. 2 years ago. Nothing happens overnight. And what have we been doing with that time? We have been building the community. We've been helping buddies, and we have been gaining the social proof, if you will, the stories. And like you were talking, the stories. And as you were talking about the different scenarios, I'm thinking, yes, okay, that has happened. Yes, we have family members that can now attest to the fact that buddy that has now gained their wings, as we say, that we were able to help them to come to peace, come to grips, take care of things that needed to be taken care of. And that was in a much more organic, grassroots way. And that's the way you wanted us to build it, guys. We wanted to go big, fast, and something happened that we were told, no, you got to build it right, in that get out there, get the community, find out what is really needed, and listen. And that's what we've been doing. Now, with the fact that we are on the cusp of going forward in a huge way, look at the people that are coming. And I will say this, is that I'm hearing more and more almost daily, and I keep bringing this up because it's so big, and yet it's so comforting and confirming that people are saying, I'm feeling called to work with this program. And because of an experience possibly they've had, or they've witnessed, or whatever it may be, or they just know that there's something that they have to offer. when you first met me and you found out what we were doing, and I'll never forget when we had that phone call and it was like, right? It was like, oh, wow.
I said,
And
well, you know, I do that for a living, right? You're like, what? You do what? And I said, PET CT scan. You said, what?
I know.
Yeah,
And
you
in
didn't
that
know.
very moment in time, it was like electricity. Just, I'll never forget it. I wish we would have had it filmed because it was after we were done filming. But that's a moment in time I will never forget. And that was when I just felt like, okay, we are going forward in this mission. Don't know what it looks like, but we both have felt it. I want to recognize a few others that have now. We've got Christopher Kaysen. Wow, the gang's just about all here.
And
In fact,
Lauren,
look,
the arms
Lauren's
of
here
purpose.
too.
Lauren,
Lauren,
as Lauren, my coach, says, Tamara, it was the arms of purpose all along. See, us meeting was not, you see, nothing just happens, as TD Jake said. Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
And
And,
even, and let me just say too, even throughout the competition, I supported, even though, like you said in the beginning, we were competitors. I've never had cancer. I've had aunts and uncles and cousins that have. No one really, like in my immediate family, has had cancer. But I see the need for chemo buddies. So I'm behind it just based on principle alone because I believe the platform is necessary. So that's why you had me at hello.
yeah, and I have been so grateful for that. Hello. And I want to just say thank you to Lauren Harris right now, because Lauren Harris, his work in his belief that good people that have a mission and a message should know each other, and that in creating an environment where they can take their messages out to the world, that is huge. And it's a vision and a message and a mission that he's undertaken, and he's doing it with his Power of We, which is now going global, and to helping with inner city youth, and helping to in bullying and everything. And the fact that he was so instrumental in bringing so many of the people that are helping Chemo Buddies for Life to go global, to find that one person. And we've found so many more than one person, but that one person that needs us, they need us. And when they need us, we want them to find us. And so I want to talk about this event we have going on. It's 29 days and counting until we have our second annual Give-a-thon. And I'm so excited about some of the talent and the different people and the comedy club. And I want to just say here, thank you for saying that. Well, you're very welcome, Lauren. Very welcome. You are so appreciated, because you know what? Think about this. Your vision has now given the coaches and the help and the credibility that is helping this movement go global, so that that person anywhere in the world that needs us is going to be able to find us. It takes one. And you know what, Lauren? I salute you for being that one that had that vision.
Being that one.
One.
You know, more than that, Tamara, his show, Bathrobe Moments alone, is such a connecting playground for all of us. So
Yes.
many of us have met and made those connections just through his show, that, because all the like-minded people, are going to be together. So,
Right.
if it wasn't for that, that Power of We, the impact of all of it. I mean, we all love you, Lauren.
Yes, we do. Thank you for being here. So let's talk, because Lauren's involved in this. He's going to be bringing the comedy club from Chicago. We've got people from Florida that are going to be going live. We've got people from San Diego that are going to be going live. We have all sorts of people that will be going live, some to entertain us, some to be the reporter on the street. We are having watch parties. We are going to be healing through music, art, nature, entertainment, hobbies, all sorts of wonderful things. We are also going to be, last year, they say that it was the very first time that anybody had ever done 24 hours back to back for a fundraising give-a-thon or telethon. Give-a-thon is actually, thank you, Lauren Harris. It was his idea, thank you for that. And, I want to just say thank you for being with us, Hermilo. Missed that. Okay. Thank you for being with us, Hermilo. He's been supporting since the beginning. And yes, I'm glad that you can't wait. We can't either. I'm so excited. Okay. I have to, yes, let's do it. I love it. I love it. We're going to, because this is what, I will say this. Okay. Anybody that knows Tamara L. Hunter is how they're branding me now. Anybody that knows Tamara L. Hunter knows that I don't think inside of a box. I don't even understand what they are. I don't know a lot of the technology, and I think that that's not by accident that I was called to do this, because there was not to be any kind of preconceived notions. If I think it, I figure there's a way to make it happen. And thank goodness we've now got the team out there that is making it happen. They're finding ways. And it's like, okay, we don't know what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. And in fact, I'm going to throw it out here, and we can, because this is what it's all about, guys, is I was like, okay, for the reporters on the street, those people that are out there talking about this during the fundraiser, this is a fundraiser. And they were talking about how, and next year, okay, track with me, guys. Okay, this year, second annual, third annual, remember Jerry Lewis Telethon? Yes, huge, big, give-a-thon, Giving Tuesday. Okay, yes, we are going huge. We are going huge. We've put the line in the sand, and that's where we're going. So I was thinking, what about the boot? Pass the boot. Okay, we've got the fire department that they're out there. Oftentimes you see those hunky guys and girls out there with their rubber boots, and they're out there by the stoplight, and it's that time of the year that they're passing that boot. And that boot has been such an effective program. And I'm thinking, okay, what can we do, Chemo Buddies for Life, that would be not completely plagiarizing, the pass the boot, but something cool. So anybody that has an idea, we'll make it a game. We'll gamify it. Maybe you'll win a prize. So come up with an idea. What can we do that is so completely unique that we can take it into this year, next year, years to come? Because we are, mark my words, this is going to happen. We will be a live show with entertainment that will be streaming on the networks, that will be live streaming through the internet, and is going to actually be the hallmark piece, that the big event for Giving Tuesday. We've called it, guys. That's where this is going. So, yes, fire batons. Absolutely.
I'll have to break them out. I have to break them out and pull in those last few dollars to hit our goal.
Absolutely. So anything like that, we want to make this happen. We are all about fun. So anybody that has any kind of cool ideas, let us know. We are going live for 36 hours this time. 12 hours. We're going to start on Monday, and then we're going to be going the full time on Tuesday. We will be live the whole time. Our goals are reasonable. We're still looking for the right sponsors, because we want to make sure who we align with it works for you and it works for us, because that's the way we are running this. Don't you think in our volunteers, Misty, that is what you're seeing? Don't we have just an amazing group of people?
Yes, and so many. I'm so impressed with how many are stepping up as well.
Yeah. I am too, and I'm grateful for it. And now what I'm seeing is that they're starting to do business together, and they're starting to be recognized, and they're starting to get people, because they know that they're working with us, that are seeking them out. And that is the very best win-win-win you can get, is that is what we are doing. So as we come around to the end of the show, I want to recognize we've got Esther here. I'm so glad you're here with us. Yes. And as we start to close, we are going to be, we've got Brooke, who is our graphics person that is creating our posts, and we are starting to plug in all the different people that will be performing at different times, and so they're going to be putting it out there through the platforms. And she's creating posters, by the way, Lauren, that you'll be able to put up at the comedy club or any of the restaurant in Florida or the gym in California. All the different places are going to be having live events. This is getting fun. So I know you've been talking to corporations. If you were to talk to a corporation leader right now, as a medical professional and as the board vice president, what would you say to them about joining our cause and sponsoring?
Honestly, and if you know me, you're going to know this is exactly what I would say. I would say to them, for instance, Dr. So-and-so, if your daughter had cancer, wouldn't you want her to have a safe place she could go and talk to somebody if she was too scared to talk to you?
Yes.
That's what I would say. And I would show them that's why Chemo Buddies is so necessary. And I would make that link as to why their support behind it is also going to be the catalyst to get it to go global, and show them that their role is instrumental as well, and how important their role in it all is as well. That's what I would say. And that's what I'm going to do, by the way.
Yay. And I want to put it out there too. I want to put pull the rabbit out of the hat and say, insurance companies, we need you to start recognizing, because we do have social proof. We have people that doctors have actually seen, that people that they didn't understand why they were still alive and still going, how that was happening. To have this kind of a program that should be recognized as viable, we need insurance companies to be teaming with us and helping. If someone is a buddy, that's going to help their odds. It's proven through the medical journals. What we are doing is scientific. So if you want to talk to us, let's talk. Let's get the different types of treatments. Let's get our word out there, because we've got right now, you're in the middle of, with Brooke, creating a card that we're going to be putting out everywhere here soon, right? We're going to, with Jason Cisneros G-Spot, we're going to track it first, but once we know it's working, make it measurable. But as we finish up, I want you to talk about how important this card is that we are in the process of producing.
Well, as being the health, in that pivotal position, like I mentioned earlier, to where I'm actually with the patients that are getting the news, or with the patients that are going through the diagnostic testing, being able to put that physical card in their hand that they walk to their car with, is something they have, is a lot different than saying, by the way, you can sign on to this website and go check it out for yourself. This is information right in their front of them. They don't have to go look it up. It's right there. This is what Chemo Buddies is. This is what I can do for you. Call me, hook me up right now today. They could do it from their car, right on the spot. They don't have to wait and research it. I think that's important, because it's going to be coming from a healthcare person giving it to them. So there's some validation already there, some proof, and then they're going to feel at ease, like, well, then it must be a reputable thing, until the name is known worldwide and it is a household name everyone's familiar with. It's going to give them some kind of ease to know it's reputable, because that's so important. There's so much going on out there, and people try to scam people all the time, especially if someone's newly diagnosed with cancer. They're in a vulnerable state. So coming from the healthcare professionals, passing them out is going to show, is going to give them, I think, some security in knowing it's a trusted site. So I see the need for it, and I want to see it go global. I know once it catches, I've already seen it. I mean, I already know where it's going to be, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of it. I'm so honored and grateful because I believe in it. And Tamara, recognition to you. I mean, my goodness, not only have you been through it, not only has so many of your members of your family been through it, but now you're just giving back, and your stamina and your determination is relentless through the impact or competition. That's the thing I can say about Tamara L. Hunter is you're consistent. You are consistently consistent, and you don't give up. And that's why Chemo Buddies is going to be that platform that everyone can turn to, because of you and your unwillingness to take no for an answer, your unwillingness to give up. And I commend you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And for any medical professionals that are out there and you want to know more, do we have medical people? We have Mistie, and also I have a couple of my doctors that are on the advisory team because of the fact that one of them in particular convinced me to do this. Yep. So we've got the medical people. So if you need to just validate, to feel comfortable with what Mistie is saying, and you want to just do your due diligence, let's do it. Because the bottom line is this, is every moment that someone is feeling isolated and alone, afraid, and they're not feeling as though they're moving forward, you know that is pulling away from their energy to beat this. And we can beat this. We can help them to get through it. And that's what we're here for. Whatever their destiny is, we're going to help them and those people that love and support them to be involved.
Could I add one more thing, Tamara? You know, yes. I also see that there's another area that this is also beneficial. If you've never had cancer, if you've never known anyone with cancer, and that's not your world at all, it's still going to educate you and bring awareness to you for the people around you that do. Because people, you know, until I lived through drug addiction, I had no idea what kind of hell that was, or domestic abuse, or any of the other things anybody lives through until you've walked in those shoes. But being aware of it can make you a little bit more compassionate and less judgmental. You know, there's so many things people go through with chemo, just the way it's, you know, and you can speak on it personally. I can just speak on it from my end of it is, you know, personally as a person, what it does to your body. I mean, your sex drive, your appetite, your daily regimens. I mean, everything from your hair to your toenails, everything is affected.
Yeah, I didn't have any. They all went away. All my fingernails and toenails and the hair.
Right. And when you go out in public, you know, people stare, people mock, people make fun. But if we, as Chemo Buddy grows and we're bringing awareness and education to the world, then they're going to understand where you're coming from. If you don't feel like talking at work one day because you just had chemo and you're really depressed, you know, maybe the person next to you now will understand and see that and be aware of it instead of just thinking you're stuck up or whatever. It's about just educating the world about cancer and everything that comes with it.
I love it. We are taking the scary out of cancer. Cancer is a 6-letter word. That's what it is. And we are taking the power that it once had, and the buddies are in town, and we're kicking that power away. And we are doing it through humor, hope, and heart education, and so much more. Thank you so much, Mistie, for this was such an important hour. This was such an important subject, and our teaming together, you and I, and all of those that are the team, the dream team is what I'm now calling us, that are going, yes, I love it, not an accident. The dream team. We are, I'm just getting that knee thing going on. We are actually going to change the world one buddy at a time. So the only question for all of you right now is, are you going to be that change. Are you going to help us to make it happen?
Be
Go
that
to,
one.
yep, be that one. Be that one. That's right. And go to CB4L, Chemo Buddies for Life, we shorten it, cb4l.org. Donate now. Donate now. Get your phone out. Donate now. Donate often. And if you know the right companies to team with us, that it's a win-win-win all the way around, we want to talk, because it's for this event and it is to go into next year. So let's make it happen together.
Yeah. And the number one thing you can do for us, if you're watching right now or if you're watching on the replay, the most beneficial number one thing you can do is hit that share button. Because
Yes.
if it doesn't affect you and you share it, it's going to go viral from there. And just think of all the people that wouldn't have heard the message had you not shared, that it might affect and be a changer in their life. So it's free to do. It takes 2 seconds. Hit the share button, please.
Love it. Love it. Love you, Mistie. Thank you for joining our dream team. Thank you for becoming an officer for this nonprofit. Thank you for representing us as the vice president of the board. Make it a great night. Make it a great night, everybody. And tomorrow I will be going live with 28 days and counting. Yes. Exciting stuff. Bye.
Bye.